Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Saturday, December 24th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Peach Bowl game is in exactly 1 week, 7 days away. The game against Michigan in 336 days. Well, as we count down to that Peach Bowl game, we wanted to get through one more batch of player interviews from earlier in the month in Ohio State. This is one of these things that I know you guys love to hear directly from the players, and it has just been a crazy, crazy week. We did one of these shows yesterday. Wanted to get through a little bit more of it today. There's honestly even more that we don't have time to get to, but here's what we got for today. We're going to start with Ohio State wide receiver Julian Fleming. He's going to answer a couple different questions here back to back on what it means for the Buckeyes to get a second chance after they thought their season might be over following that loss to Michigan, and then how they might be able to make the most of that opportunity.
It's kind of like we have nothing to lose. I feel like that kind of makes a dangerous team. Obviously we went out in a way that we really didn't expect, in a way that we never wanted to. But, this is kind of like a second opportunity and kind of like a second season for us. So, we're looking at it just as that. You guys, like we kind of knew a little bit just for like the coaches saying it and everything like that. So we were already bought into it. So when we saw it wasn't like the biggest surprise, but it was still like just such a feeling of relief that, this second opportunity is being provided to us. And, we just got to capitalize on it and make the most out of it. No, I definitely think every practice is kind of bleeding into the next, and I feel like the energy is constantly just picking up week in and week out and day in and day out. So I think that's awesome to see as a team, especially who ended like that, just to still have that sense of urgency and that sense of excitement to come out here and just be granted the opportunity.
It is very, very rare for the Buckeyes to be an underdog. We talked about that on yesterday's show. They hadn't been an underdog since the 2020 season, and now they're going to get a chance to do that. But here's the other thing. This is not exactly a hopeless situation, because Ohio State has won national titles as a big underdog twice already this century, including, stop me if this sounds familiar, as a number 4 seed against the top-seeded team from the SEC playing in its own backyard. Yeah, okay, that might sound a little bit like this year's game. So this kind of challenge isn't exactly unprecedented for Ohio State.
We kind of hit on it a little bit yesterday, just with the two national championship teams that we have up there from 2002 and 2014. So, 1 year we were ranked 4th and came in and ended up winning it. So that's kind of just how we're taking it right now, underdog mentality. But we're gonna have to fight for it every single rep.
Now, that little nice historical coincidence about Ohio State and Alabama from the 2014 season and Ohio State and Georgia from this season, well, that's not actually going to win the game for Ohio State. There is the challenge of actually playing and trying to beat the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. So here's what Fleming had to say about how they're working to prepare for that challenge.
No, they're a great team. They're tough. Everything they do is they just play great. Everything about them, they have a really good team. They have really good athletes. Their scheme's really good. And like I said, they play tough every single play. So we're going to have to come out and we're going to have to execute better than we ever have. We're going to have to execute to like the best of our abilities. Just, it's going to be a fight. Like I said, every rep is going to be a fight, and it's going to come down to the last couple seconds every single play. So we're just going to have to make sure that we're ready for that. We're preparing really tough right now. A lot of practices is good on good and just, continuously getting better. So we're gonna have to continue on that, constantly just push each other, and we're gonna have to strive with this in discomfort. Being comfortable, there's never really any growth in that. So we're just gonna have to continue to be uncomfortable and continue growing day in and day out.
This has been a big and very important month of bowl practices, of course, for Ohio State as they try to get ready for the Bulldogs. But it's not just big because of that upcoming game. It's also big for some of the younger guys to get a chance to take some additional reps they might not have gotten during the course of the season. Ohio State's 4 freshman receivers played only sparingly this year. Caleb Brown and Keon Grays had 1 reception each. Kojo Antwi and Caleb Burton didn't have any at all. So this is a real opportunity for them to try and take another step towards contributing either later this season or more likely next year.
Yeah, no, these practices are a great opportunity for them. Older guys aren't taking all the reps, and it's a lot of practices for a short amount of time. So it's a big opportunity for them to continue to improve and enhance their game. And everybody, I feel like they're all making strides right now, but they're going to just have to continue to do that.
Paris Johnson was named a first-team All-American after the season, and while guys are always quick to frame that as something that's secondary to team goals like championships, Johnson had a really unique perspective on why this was a big deal to him personally.
That I wanted to have here at Ohio State. By the time I left, I wanted to have a Buckeye tree here. So, it was really cool to have one, because I've always had a dream. I wanted my name to be just somewhere in the Woody, whether it was captain or Buckeye tree, just have a picture on the wall so I'd have a reason, to take my grandkids here and be, oh yeah, no, I used to do this back in the day. I've always wanted to have that sort of reason to come back to show stuff off, so it's really cool.
A lot of guys were asked about what it was like inside the Woody in the week following the loss to Michigan, but Paris is always very thoughtful, and he had a really detailed answer here, so I thought you guys might enjoy this.
Yeah, I would say, it was definitely a different feeling around the facility after that game. I would say that we had to take a minute to step back because, like Coach Day said, we were no longer in control of our destiny, which we had been all season long. So I think being able to take a step back and to realize at this point we need to reflect on everything leading up to the game, which I feel like we had a lot of time to do that, but at the same time just giving everything to God and sort of being like, so it's my mom, it's kind of like you're treating it like the turbulence when you're on a plane. Sort of the best way to deal with it is just to realize you're not in control and just to almost, act like it's not there till it's over. So I would say in terms of that was the mindset I felt like I had to have when, it was not in our control, but it was dependent on what other teams do. And we prepared the week before, championship games, for the conferences, as if we knew that we were in to keep that mindset, then to opt into that sort of break mentality, right? That can easily creep in. So instead of doing that, I feel like, the coaching staff did a great job of keeping us in a routine as if we were about to go play, which helped. So when we saw our name up there, it was kind of automatic. You know what I mean?
If the Buckeyes had been left out of the playoff field, if USC had won the Pac-12, for example, the realities of modern football would have meant a lot of opt-outs for what likely would have been maybe an Orange Bowl matchup with Clemson. So that would have meant guys like C.J. Stroud or Zach Harrison or even Paris Johnson himself might have already played their final game as a Buckeye. Has Paris given any thought to that?
Going into this year, I kind of wanted to push all thoughts about that till the end of the season, because I've seen a lot of the seasons not go but people's way because they're too concerned about what they're going to do after the season instead of having their mind right where their feet is at, which I've been trying to focus on. So I would say, that game had definitely a lot on the line, right? Like the games that we were watching. But I would say at the same time, I wasn't trying to spend that time trying to decide one way or another. So I wouldn't, put myself in a position to switch my mindset away from the Buckeyes ultimately. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to take that time to come to that conclusion. Does that make sense?
Most of the talk around Georgia's defensive line has centered around defensive tackle Jalen Carter, but their ends are no slouches either. Johnson was asked about the challenge they will pose.
Yeah, both their defensive ends are, hard players. Watching film on them, they're not. I feel like you see a lot of talented players who show flashes of greatness, but then there's a couple plays of laziness here and there. But I think the one thing that I respect about them is that, they're very consistent and they play hard, and they don't stop till the whistle's blown. And I feel like as a tackle, you can respect that on film, and it makes it more fun and prepare for those opponents who go as hard as you do. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's kind of I respect their game in terms of their ability to speed and power, their ability to rip move, all the stuff that they can do. I think they're talented players. So you definitely can't overlook the defensive ends despite their interior play.
As an offensive lineman, Paris Johnson is spending the whole month leading up to the Peach Bowl more or less preparing to go against one or two guys from Georgia. So he was asked how he approaches that. Is that almost like getting ready for a boxing match where you're just going to do battle with this one guy?
Yeah, I feel like that's the mentality I have before I come to practice. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if we're running naked away from the quarterback. I'm either the one doing the hit and I'm the one getting hit. So it doesn't matter whether it's, So I feel like that's the mentality you always have to have. I feel like, what Coach Day said, our motto was fight. I feel like for me it's evolved. The meaning of that has evolved over the season. And I feel like I take that in the games, but I've been learning how to take that into practice better like you said, like a boxing match. I sort of think about it like a UFC fight. Although I haven't watched a whole lot of them, but I played the video game several times. So I sort of take it, it's kind of the approach into the way I go to practice, the way my one-on-one fight. When Coach Day says, when you're one-on-one, I sort of think about it. It's like a UFC fight and whole arena's watching. So you're going to win that. If I say it's you versus him and I put 100,000 people, you're not going to, quit. You know what I mean? So I think if you think about it like that in practice, it translates even better to the game.
Off the field, Paris is one of the nicest guys you'll meet, very friendly and recently honored for his charity work. But on the field, well, that's a very different story. Here's how he describes what he's like once that whistle blows.
I feel like as an offensive lineman, but you can ask any offensive lineman, even at the high school level, like, you're just waiting to feel somebody when you grab them and they start to stumble a little bit. That's kind of, it doesn't matter how tired you are. This is the best feeling in the world. Just throw them on the ground and just jump on them and lay on them until the ref looks at you and you say you couldn't hear him. The ref, I don't know. It's just part of the game. I feel like, you can't even get here and play offensive line without it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you come here to get developed with the technique and to enhance your toughness, but I feel like you can't make it in the door. I feel like when you recruit offensive line, what's the first thing you look at is if they have a dog in them. You're not looking just for a special technician.
Finally, let's hear from second-year cornerback Jordan Hancock. He missed a bunch of time after getting injured during fall camp, but has worked his way into a bigger role in that corner rotation and even started a game. So the Peach Bowl is going to be something of a homecoming for him. He went to high school in Sewanee, Georgia, just about a half-hour northeast of Atlanta. And Mercedes-Benz Stadium, home of the Peach Bowl? Well, that's a place he's played before.
Oh, yeah, it's be electric. I played in that stadium, Corky Kell Classic, back in high school, so I'm familiar with the Mercedes-Benz and stuff like that. I always went to a Falcons game, and it's going to be electric. And just seeing all of Athens come out, it's going to be fun. But BuckeyeNation travels well, too, so we're going to feel like home.
Being from Georgia, it is not real surprising that Hancock, in fact, knows players on the Georgia team, and he knows what to expect from the Bulldogs.
They're very disciplined, very tough and gritty team. It's coming down south. They try to beat everybody with their physicality and toughness, and that's what they're going to bring to the table. And it's going to be a great challenge for us because I know how Coach Smart got those boys trained up, so it'll be a good challenge for us.
Hancock had a really interesting answer here when he was asked why the state of Georgia produces so many good football players.
I feel like all of us, we train at a very young age, like running hills or doing stuff like that at a very young age, and not too much stuff is down there, in the country and stuff. So football is really all we have, and that's our home. Just play football, have fun, and just play with grit. That's all we know. So.
Finally, Hancock was asked about his long road back from an injury suffered during fall camp. You're going to hear a few answers here to related questions back to back.
It drove me as soon as I got hurt, just getting that 1% better every week. That was kind of the light in the tunnel. I couldn't focus on the light in the tunnel. I just had to focus on every day, get better every day. And that's what the mentality I brought. I feel like for me, I really had to press the gas to really open up the full potential. I kind of had some growing pains like in the game and stuff like that. So maybe I couldn't run full speed or something like that, but gradually going on, now I've like 2 months of practice with me. So I felt faster, quicker, and just doing extra stuff when the coaches aren't looking, like unrequired work. So that's been helping me a lot. I feel a lot better. The bowl practices, it's more competitive, in season, it's kind of just more scout work. You really not getting the one-on-ones like you should be. But these bowl practices, it's competitive. You can actually kind of make your name for yourself in practice, and that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to showcase my talents and working real hard. So.
Well, I hope you guys all have a wonderful Christmas. We are going to be taking Christmas Day off here, but we'll be back with a show from Atlanta on the 26th as we kick off our in-depth and on-site coverage in the lead up to the Peach Bowl on New Year's Eve. So make sure you sign up at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We're going to have a full team down there in Atlanta. We're going to have some exclusive members-only content planned in the lead up to what should be a really fantastic game on New Year's Eve. So thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. Have a Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you on the 26th.